Hello, it's TGC Requiem. Um, Back with match 3 of this league. Um, Again, just kind of for each of these videos, I just want to note that at the time, the deck list was like almost identical to this, except I was, for this league, not yet running 2 Liliana of the Last Hope, nor was I running a Doomblade. In those slots, I was running a Collective Brutality, a second Abrupt Decay, and a third Grimflayer. So just as a heads up, if you're looking at the deck list, this is my current deck list, um, not what I was running at the time. One thing of note in this league is I was actually on the draw for all 5 matches, and because I won so far, I've been on the draw for each of these. So pretty interesting. This looks like a good hand. Thought Scour, Siren Vision, Split a Delta. Three lands and a Cryptic. Temple of Enlightenment, so our opponent is almost certainly on Ad Nauseum. Normally, especially when you have a Snapcaster Mage, but normally we would open with like a Thought Scour to fill the graveyard, get a little more information before we use the Serum Visions. It's possible though here, knowing that I just want to get the Tarmogoyf down next turn and start doing damage, it's possible that I Thought Scour now just to try and get the Tarmogoyf as big as possible going into the next turn. Not quite sure. It's also possible that I try and Serum Visions, yeah, to try and filter into some counter magic. Draw a bunch more land. It's possible I keep both of these on the top. I'm actually going to pull this up for this one. We can't quite see it here. Oh. Yeah, so we do keep the Abrupt Decay on top. Sometimes it's decent against, obviously Phyrexian Unlife, or they have like I can't think of the Starburst one or Sunburst one that gives you 2 mana. I think I keep both of those on top. Yeah. Okay, so got both on top. Opponent's Serum Visions. Plays another Scryland. But I kept the Spell Snare on top, hoping to counter a 2 CMC's play. Which he will have 2 CMC unless he hits another land here. Or an upright land for the third land. So we're going to just fetch probably right into, Swamp. Knowing that we have access to 2 more blue mana, that makes sense for Cryptic. 3 more blue mana. And it actually kind of makes sense with the Serum Visions too. So the Thought Scour actually now, by the time we're ready to attack with Tarmogoyf, we're going to also have access to Thought Scour to try and build them up. A lot of times though, again, before you don't know so clearly what your opponent is on based on their opening land. Temple of Enlightenment or Temple of Deceit even is not so clearly. Darkslick Shore is definitely not so clearly Ad Nauseum, but Temple of Enlightenment is clearly Ad Nauseum, and so it kind of makes more sense in that regard to just try and go get your take a peek and try and start improving your draws right from the get-go. So here comes the Phyrexian Unlife. So you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. So basically once they get to 0, the next turn they start taking effect. So if you did, say they were at 1 life and you did 11 damage, that does not give them 1 damage and 10 infect. That gives them minus 11. That puts them to minus 10, and then the next turn you can start doing infect damage. So it's a really strong card for them. Could go Creeping Tar Pit there, but I think at that point it's much more likely that I'm going to want to hold Spell Snare, Thought Scour, cast Thought Scour, and hold Spell Snare. Fortunately, when we fetched the last turn, we lost our Abrupt Decay, which we may have left on top anyway because we figured it's not the most live card anyway. Really, Phyrexian Unlife is all it can hit. Just so happens to be that they hit the Phyrexian Unlife. Usually the Sunburst artifact is not worth it. Based on where they are mana-wise, I, again, don't know. Well, you know, there's not a lot of 2 CMC spells to snare. I could see going for Collective Brutality here, actually. We actually do 2 modes. We're going to have him lose some life and gain some life, and then look at his hand. Looking at his hand, so I look at his hand for a little bit here, and I am now tapped out, and he has Phyrexian Unlife. I almost took his Serum Visions here, thinking, oh, we need to hold him off of, trying to get to that 5th land, but he's going to play Gemstone Mine, have Simian Spirit Guide. He can actually just cast Ad Nauseum instant speed here with Phyrexian Unlife. So if we don't take Ad Nauseum, that's the game. We actually just lose the game right here. Because he has access to the 5 mana he needs and an Unlife on the battlefield already. So we end up taking the Ad Nauseum. Attack for 4. And now, if he draws an Ad Nauseum off the top, we're again also just dead. He has the Angel's Grace, Serum's Vision, so that's a good sign. Pretty sure he put both on top. No, one on the bottom, one on top. Okay. Pentad Prism, that's the one I'm talking about, Sunburst. So there's our chance to Spell Snare. Fortunately, we don't have the ability to cast a second Tarmogoyf right here. Got to make sure we keep that Cryptic up in case, especially considering you put a card on top of his library. Doesn't do anything that turn. So throw Tarpit down. Second Cryptic is a great draw. Really our concern here is that he's going to get Living End with Summoner, or not Summoner's Pact, but Pact of Negation. Doesn't do anything again. If we draw another land here, we can now Tarmogoyf. But we don't, so we just attack in one more time. Sleight of hand. So it puts one card on the bottom, one into his hand. Excellent, Drowned Catacomb. So now we can throw a second Tarmogoyf down, but we're going to wait till after combat, I believe. So as we noted, this will take him to -2 life. However, what he's going to do here is play his Angel's Grace. Split second, so he can't respond to it. Basically, he can't lose the game this turn, and any damage that would have killed him puts him to 1 instead. So this actually, by putting him to 1, means my next attack also doesn't kill him because, again, it'll just put him to negative life off the Phyrexian Unlife. It's unlikely that the Spell Snare will matter. That really, if he goes for Ad Nauseum, if we Cryptic Command, the only way he really wins is if he Pacts of Negations. So I think, though, what we're looking to do here is get him to a negative life and then bounce the Unlife. Then we don't have to worry about getting sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. We don't have to worry about getting him to the negative 10, or 10 effect. So scry. He puts it on the bottom. Fatal Push, completely dead card here. It's possible I throw the third Tarmogoyf down, but I might not, just to, yeah. So I don't, just to try and basically make it look like I have even more. Had I thrown the extra Tarmogoyf down, we could have just gotten him to, lethal the next turn off of attacks. Actually, well, technically we already do with Creeping Tar Pit. However, if we make that play, that is an issue. We don't have access. So I think the reason I don't do it here So I think this is a mistake on my part. So I attack for 4 here. If I thought Scour him, I could hit an enchantment or an artifact. I mean, he hasn't played any of the 0 mana artifact that goes on suspend, and then it taps or sacrifices for 3 mana. Lotus Bloom, I think. He hasn't played any of those. Maybe he hasn't just because he has enough mana. But again, there's also enchantments. An enchantment or an artifact here could give me lethal. Granted, he has white mana up, so if he has another Angel's Grace, he can just make it so he doesn't lose this turn. Although I think at upkeep, if he went for it, though, we still have Cryptic Command. And at the point he got to upkeep, if he was at negative 10, or 10 infect, he would lose. So I think I make a mistake by not thought scouring him here. Put him down to 8 infect. Or I do, and I just don't know what I did. Okay, so I was like 99% certain that I did not make that play. So, and I thought afterwards, I was like, man, I should have made that play. But it did. See, this is why I spent that time trying to clean up my technical play. Because now, apparently, I do make those plays and just don't realize it. So we have him to 8 in fact, so he basically has to kind of go for it now, because our next attack phase, unless he draws he probably could wait one more draw step on his part, actually, because he could draw another Angel's Grace. But he goes for it. We Cryptic, bounce the Unlife. And he casts Lightning Storm, but it's not enough to do lethal to me, and so he concedes. Bouncing the Phyrexian Unlife actually then ends the game. So that was the first one. So that puts us to 1-0 in the game. Let's close this down and go to game 2. Of course, we don't see the sideboarding, which is frustrating. I would note that I probably brought in 2 Dispel, because Ad Nauseum is instant speed, 2 surgical extraction, 2 negate. I probably brought in the 3 Fulminator Mages, actually, because you can keep them off black mana. Then they can't, well, and it's tough to do this. You keep them off black or white mana, depending on how it looks with Lotus Bloom or whatever the Sunburst card was again. And I think that's it. But I would have brought those in, probably would have taken out, probably every Fatal Push, go for the throw, which does run me the risk of them potentially getting down there's a 2-drop creature, Laboratory Maniac, I think, where they can mill themselves out and basically win by not having any cards in their library. So I probably pulled most of the removal out, and that's what we would have had. So much more counter magic-y game 2. This is okay. Again, you do have to have a threat to beat down. Be probably more worried about not having a creature to attack than having counter magic, because you're not really countering their first few turns anyway. So I think I probably keep this. Thought Scour is going to potentially put some stuff in the graveyard for Snapcaster to counter. We have 4 mana, which puts us in good range for Cryptic when we get there. Draw a Counter Squall, which is excellent. Help close the game. We get Abrupt Decay, Thought Scour, so not a whole lot making the Goyf there, but we draw another Negate off of it. Negate without the damage, and a Dispel. So we're looking good here now. Just go for the Breeding Pool. Access, you want perfect, as much mana as perfect mana. When they go for it, they're going to kill you, so it doesn't matter what your life total is in this matchup. Slam the Tarmogoyf. Oh my gosh! Yes! Totally zoned here. Didn't realize the opponent wasn't playing lands. Our opponent accidentally double-clicked Mulligan Keep when he meant to click Keep, and ended up mulliganing to 6 and then keeping a hand with no lands. So this actually, I'm just going to kind of speed this up. We just start kind of beating down. He doesn't draw a land for a while. Get a little bit of a free one. Though I think this is a good matchup for us. Oh, the other land Fulminator Mage is good for is they bring in Boseiju. It's like Boseiju or something. I can't remember. But basically, if they use that land when they cast a spell, it can't be countered. So Fulminator Mage can protect that, especially since we're trying to play a heavy counter magic way of fighting this opponent. So finally hits a land. Counter Squall him. Throw down another. Oh, brother. Doesn't draw, attack again, and I think he eventually tries to cast something, and we just like Snapcaster, Counter Squall, and no. Well, he didn't. He packs it. Hey, so then we get to Snap. Can't. Unbelievable. So he would have lost anyway because he couldn't pay the Pact to Negation. I guess he would have had the mana to potentially cast the what was it, Faith's Reward to at least not lose to the Pact trigger, but bad break for the opponent. Sort of things that happen on MTGO. You never accidentally pull up 7 cards in paper and then go, oops, I accidentally shuffled Mulligan to 6 and now I have 6 and I'm kept a 0 lander. Like, it's just some of the things that happen on MTGO. Bit of a bummer. Again, I think we are favored probably in this matchup since we can counter quite a bit of what they got. Again, Abrupt Decay is good against Phyrexian on life. So, anyway, that is it for this match. So that put us to 3-0, 6-0. Man, getting some ham wins here. And we will be back with the fourth match in just a moment.